What's going on, everybody? This is Gary from Killer Off-Road Hobbies, and today we're doing a full review and my thoughts video on the Arrma Mojave 1/7 scale desert truck. This is a 4x4 unit that comes, as I said, ready to run from Arrma for about $630 to $660. It is brushless, that is 4 and 6S capable. Alrighty, let's start this out with a little bit of 4S running footage. This is some of the better landings I got with this truck. I'll explain that in a little bit, but one thing to note is the suspension on this truck is absolutely awesome. They set it up very, very well. I'll get into it a little bit deeper in a moment, but it's very good. It works out very well. 4S power is absolutely awesome, I do have to say, and would be probably more than good for most entry-level or medium-level hobbyists.
Why not?
Now, let's jump up to 6S.
That's what I would do if I was in a
Here we
truck.
go.
100.
6S, yes. This truck is an absolute beast on 6S.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Carrying over to 6S, that suspension works awesome. The tires hook up very well. I had no issues at all with this truck. Not one single issue. The BLX 185 system that comes in this thing is programmable with a $10 Hobby Wing program card, so you can adjust your LVC levels, your punch, and all that good stuff. So that's a cheap, easy way to get a little bit more out of this truck if need be. Also, I'll get into it a little more in depth, but the transmitter that this truck comes with has a selector switch where you can give yourself 50, 75, or 100% power. I would say if you have any experience at all with RCs, just go ahead and leave it on 100. And if you need to figure the truck out a little bit before you want to go, full bore, just give yourself 100% power on 4S. I think that's plenty good for most people, and it gives you a chance to learn this truck. This truck is an absolute beast, absolute blast, so let's get into the review. I did run the Spectrum STX2 the entire time, and to be honest, I didn't really have any of the issues that people have been talking about with this thing. I didn't lose range at all. To be honest, I never drive my RCs too far away from me because I am filming. So that might be one thing to take into account when I'm saying this, but I didn't have any of the range or loss of signal issues with this transmitter. I actually quite enjoyed using this transmitter. It's not, in my eyes I should say, it's not a bad transmitter. I do prefer the Tactic transmitter, don't get me wrong, but this thing does work. I mean, like I said, I didn't have any issues with this transmitter, so there is no reason for me to say anything negative about it, other than it does seem kind of redundant to have a throttle trim and then the trim button thing, the trim switch. So that is kind of weird. You don't need both, you only need one. So you can dial back the power here and you can dial back the power here. So I don't know why they did it twice, but hey, they're the designers, not me. But as I said, this thing did fine for me. I had no issues with it really. I do see a delay, between trigger pull and the truck, but it's not anything that should affect driving for the most part, other than maybe on people that are trying to race with this truck. But if you're just out casually driving it or bashing it or whatever, I don't see a problem with it at all. But enough about the remote. Let's get to this truck. So I had an absolute blast with the Mojave. It definitely exceeded my expectations for this truck. With that being said, the toughness and durability of this truck is absolutely outstanding.
Right? Hot truck. And there it goes.
I give it a 10. I give it 10 stars easily on durability. The tires that it comes with are very good for what this truck is designed for. I really like the stock tires. The motor and ESC setup in this truck is plenty of power for this thing. I don't foresee anybody needing really to throw a bigger system in this truck, because I didn't even put the high-speed pinion in this thing and it absolutely rips. The body. Not only does it look awesome, but this has to be one of the most durable bodies I have ever experienced on an RC. It looks killer. Like, I'm telling you guys, if you haven't seen one of these things in person, it looks way better in person than it looks on camera, and it still looks killer on camera. So I think Arrma absolutely nailed it with the body on this thing. Super tough. I only have two problems with this body. I lost a screw in that little plastic bumper doohickey thing in the front over here. This thing, which I just put, basically what I did was just put a washer behind it and put a screw in it. And then it's got a little bit of cracking going on right over here. Nothing bad at all, considering how hard I have crashed this thing over and over and over. So other than that, the four-wheel drive works great. The servo is plenty. I really don't see any need to do any upgrades to this truck for what it's designed for. Now, I know if you want to pull backflips and stuff, you can put the Qatar tires on this. Somebody else mentioned other tires that you can put on this. You are pretty limited unless you want to, kind of cut out the body. And these bodies are $100 or $105 a piece. So they are very durable, but I wouldn't go cutting into it with that kind of money, because once you cut this out here, you're most likely going to start seeing some crackage, some damaging happening much more easily, I would think. The bumpers held up. This entire truck just held up to everything. Now, going over a few pros and cons. A pro about this truck is definitely if you do what it's designed for. Small jumps, rugged terrain, kind of sandy terrain, stuff like that, grass even. This truck will take it with a smile. No problem at all. The only con I can kind of say about that is if you try to air this truck out, I would say 9.5 times out of 10, it is going to end badly for you. Well, it did for me at least. Maybe the jumps I have don't have the right kind of ramp up, or maybe I didn't set the suspension up just right. I basically kept this truck as stock as possible to just kind of show you guys what you get when you spend the little over $600 on this truck. So airing this truck out did not work well for me. I know that's all subject to opinion. Everywhere you bash, there's different jumps, there's different run-ups to them. Everybody has their different experiences with RCs, but in my experience, from a personal standpoint, this thing is definitely not meant to be aired out. Unless you have astronomically huge jumps where you have so much like hang time to actually make those corrections. And I would guess that those corrections aren't going to happen very often because the tires on this thing, unless you upgrade the tires on this thing don't tend to help at all with air control. Now, going back to jumping, except on kind of a different note, the suspension on this thing is absolutely phenomenal. The suspension setup on this thing is just great. Like I said, if you do what this truck is made for, this truck will take it with a smile all day. The suspension is very, very, very well set up out of the box. I didn't feel the need to change out the shock oils. The only thing I did was tighten down the collars on the rear shocks a little bit to make it a little bit stiffer in the rear. But I have pretty much nothing but good things to say about this truck. It held up to all the abuse I put it through. It looks great. It handles great. It's got plenty of power. 4S and 6S both are very, very fun to drive with. I don't have any issues at all with this truck. The airing it out part of this truck not being very well, this truck's not made or designed to be aired out. I know everybody wants huge jumps and all that type of stuff, but this truck is not designed for that. It's designed for rugged, off-camber terrain, going through whoops and all that stuff. So I would give this thing an A++ for sure if you keep it in the realm it's designed for. I think it looks great. I think it handles great. I think it comes as a great package out of the box. I don't think it's necessary to upgrade it unless you want to spend the extra money. Other than that, I know one of the big questions since I did review the Traxxas UDR would be, for me, would I choose the Mojave over the UDR? And I'm probably going to upset and disappoint and maybe make a couple people happy out of saying this. But if I had a choice between the two trucks, the Mojave or the UDR, I would choose the UDR. Now, before you freak out and X this video out and call me an idiot and all that stuff, just please hear me out. Now, this thing is a flat pan chassis, full independent suspension, 4-wheel drive desert truck. Basically, with the style they're going for, it's a Baja truck. It is very scale looking, but I will tell you right now, the UDR takes that scale look and completes it. Everything scale that this truck doesn't come with, the UDR has in aces. The UDR is an absolute beast of a truck as well. It's so close to being just a mini version of a Baja truck, like one of those Baja 1000 trucks. The fact that Arrma decided to go with independent suspension in the rear, I think is a takeaway, because independent suspension in the rear does not say Baja truck. Baja trucks, trophy trucks, those trucks run solid axles in the rear. And I think that is one of the things that shies me away from the Mojave and makes me lean more towards the UDR. I would say the power is pretty comparable. This thing might have a little bit more power, but I do have to say that the Traxxas UDR absolutely flew better. It handled much better in the air. The UDR has all the positives that the Mojave has, but it does it just a little bit better. Like all the off-camber terrain, the very scale look of it. I'm gonna stop kind of comparing the two, but out of the Mojave and the UDR, I would take the UDR, hands down. It is slightly more expensive, but I think the complete scale look and how close these two are matched, power, handling wise, and all of that stuff. I take the UDR basically because for what you would buy these trucks for, is scale look, I would believe, and I think the Traxxas UDR just does that a little bit better. Not taking anything away from Arrma or the Mojave. Like I said, this is a great truck. I give it 10 stars. This truck is awesome. You know, use it for what it's made for and it will not let you down. All right, everybody. Well, that's my short review on the Arrma Mojave 6S 1/7 scale 4-wheel drive desert truck. Please thumb up this video if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. Stay tuned, subscribe. If you're new here, click that bell, and we will see you on the next one. Until then, peace.